Okay, welcome to the session, everyone. Some really good presentations this morning. I was able to join in on, and we're now going to kind of change the format up a little bit and turn this into more of a fireside chat type discussion between a few panelists that we're going to have joining us. So. The session is called Accelerating Adoption for Success, and it's hosted by Durham RTDS, which Durham Region is partnered with, and we will be talking about the Durham Region's recent safe and accessible transportation challenge. So, thank you very much for attending. We'll be monitoring the chat for any questions, and I'd encourage you to throw them out there, and we can use them to steer this discussion as we go along. My name is Stephen Kemp, and I am the manager of traffic engineering and operations here within the Works Department at the Regional Municipality of Durham. And I'm joined today by Paul Godsmark from Parsons Corporation and Rob Lee from SmartCone Technologies, who accepted the challenge that the region issued, and they recently submitted their proposal to us to undertake this important work. So just by way of quick introduction, Rob Lee is Executive Vice President with SmartCone Technologies. Rob has extensive experience and has been highly successful in complex project execution and sales management. Simplifying and making sense of disparate information and data points is one of Rob's areas of specialization. His background in business development helped shape the vision and overall strategy at SmartCone. And also joined by Paul Godsmark, Senior Project Engineer with Parsons, specialist in the subject of automated vehicles and emerging technologies in transportation, and the potential socioeconomic impacts, both positive and negative. He's backed up by several decades of experience in all manner of transportation design, planning, and construction. He's a professional engineer here in Ontario, as well as Alberta, and a certified chartered engineer in the United Kingdom. So before I get into the discussion, though, I just wanted to provide a little bit of background and context with regard to the safe and accessible transportation challenge project that the region recently issued. And I'll provide that background before I turn it over more to Rob and Paul with some specific questions. So we'll just get into what led us to issuing this challenge in the first place. And I have to go back to 2019, not that long ago, but the region of Durham initiated our Durham Vision Zero program. And the vision of Vision Zero is just as it says, zero. So it's an effort to eliminate death and injury caused by motor vehicle collisions on our transportation system. And we realize that's a pretty lofty objective, and we have a lot of work to do. So we set a series of stepping stones, and the first 5-year action plan towards our longer-term vision of zero seeks to reduce injury and fatal collisions by 10% over a 5-year period. So our data shows that fatalities from motor vehicle collisions have been steadily decreasing for drivers and passengers, despite significant increases in the number of licensed drivers and total vehicle kilometers traveled on our road network. Fatalities are dropping. And there are many contributing factors that people associate with this, including a lot of improvements in vehicle safety technology to protect their occupants. Unfortunately, pedestrians and cyclists have not always necessarily directly benefited from all of these in-vehicle safety initiatives. And we have seen increases in pedestrian and cyclist collisions and injuries and fatalities resulting from them over the same time period that driver and passenger injuries have been decreasing. So we know from our data that the majority of pedestrian collisions are occurring at our signalized intersections. And most of the time it's when drivers are making left or right-hand turns. And usually the pedestrians are crossing with the right-of-way. So they're doing everything appropriately, and they're still suffering these incidents when vehicles are turning. Hundreds of pedestrians are struck by turning vehicles at signalized intersections every year, and many of them sustain serious life-altering or even life-ending injuries. And sadly, the older population seems to be overrepresented in our data as well, because they tend to be more frail and are not able to survive some of these impacts as a younger person might. But the statistics we have don't really reveal the real kind of human toll that these events cause. And I just wanted to start off by sharing kind of two stories in particular that have kind of stuck with me as I deal with this road safety issue here in Durham. So first one, I'll go even further back, not that long ago again, but November 14th, 2018, a 19-year-old male, an Ontario Tech student named Reese. It's 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, probably returning from class, going from his class to his residence. He's a young man, I'm guessing away from home for school, probably for the first time. His whole life ahead of him. He's crossing at a signalized intersection, doing everything he's supposed to do. And he's at the intersection of Simcoe and Conlin, which is right at the northern edge of the university. And this young man named Reese struck and killed by the driver of a southbound vehicle. And another one more recently, May 19th, 2022, this year, a 16-year-old boy this time named Josh. He's riding his bicycle on Wentworth Street here in the city of Oshawa. It's about 7:30 p.m. Daylight. This is in May. He's passing through a signalized intersection again, struck and killed by the driver of a tractor trailer that was making a right turn at the traffic signal. And Josh was riding home from a session teaching basketball to grade 1 students, trying to earn his volunteer hours for high school. So as a father of boys around the same age, these events really hit home for me. And it's not good enough anymore to call these accidents and accept that they are inevitable. And that's really what our Vision Zero plan is about. We think we can do better. And sadly, there's many more stories like this that I could have chosen from to share today. And really, this challenge we've issued is about finding ways to reduce the likelihood or eliminate the possibilities that these types of events ever occur. So I'm sorry to start the session off on kind of such a somber note, but I think it's important that we keep Reese and Josh and others like them in mind as we talk about this project and the impacts that it could have for the future. Because I really think there's a lot of promise and some things that we could do to make this situation better. So the intent of our challenge that we've issued was to explore ways to manage conflicts between vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists at our signalized intersections within the region. And really the question is, can we use technology to establish that connection between road users as they navigate through some of our busiest intersections? You'll often hear advice given for pedestrians crossing that they need to make eye contact with the driver. Are there other ways that we can establish that connection that could maybe have the same similar effect when we know that eye contact doesn't always work or doesn't always occur? So with that introduction, which turned out to be a little longer than I intended, but I wanted kind of have some questions for Rob and Paul, and I'd also like them to introduce themselves to the attendees. So maybe Rob, if you wouldn't mind going first, if you could just briefly introduce yourself again. I know I provided some background at the beginning, and maybe a little bit about what Smart Cone Technologies is all about as well.
Sure, no problem. So sorry about the laundry incident there. My name is Rob Lee. I'm actually a Durham College graduate. I graduated in 1997, way back then, from the inaugural environmental technology program. So I've always had Durham Region. I lived there for 12 years and graduated there. So I've always had it in my heart. So I'm happy that we were able to submit a proposal to the region. So I've been in the construction industry for years, and my brother started Smart Cone in 2015. And I asked if I could help him because I really thought that where he was going in this was real interesting and real life changing for me, and the technology was really taking off. Smart Cone is a purpose-built ecosystem with sensor fusion and cognitive edge computing and AI analytics, and it's actually deployed on the true edge. And we created a multi-tenant, full stack database system that you can interact with, and it deploys simply. And we are sensor and communication agnostic, so we are there to provide different use cases for exactly what Stephen was talking about. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, Paul, over to you.
Hi, thanks, Steve. Yeah, so my name's Paul Gosmark. I'm with Parsons. A little bit about me first. I've been doing engineering for more than 3 decades now. I hate to admit it. As you said, got a lot of experience around the world. I've thanks to civil engineering, which is a great degree. Anyone who's doing it, keep going. I've managed to live and work in 9 different countries on 5 different continents. I've been in Canada now for about 11 years, but only the last year and a half here in Ontario. So I'm like new kid on the block for Ontario, but I've got a lot of expertise around the whole design, construction, planning phases of road projects. But the last decade or so I've just been completely enamored with the whole idea of autonomous vehicles and what that means, and the ramifications are off the charts. It's as big as the internet, and it's how it's going to change our daily lives. And so at the moment, as I say, emerging technologies, this project is all about that. The intersection is fantastic. Parsons, people may not realize this, Parsons is a global engineering company, 16,000 employees in 25 countries. At the heart and soul of our business is critical infrastructure engineering, roads, rail, bridges, ports, you name it. And we're really into the future of transportation, and we are so excited because this challenge is all about that. So we're really excited to participate in it. And Parsons, I don't know, we do everything in the transportation realm. And this challenge, yes, it's a little bit off of the beaten track, but it's very exciting because it's the way the future is going, and we're excited to be a part of that.
Thank you very much, Paul and Rob. So we'll move into the first question, which I think is an easy one. Just asking you to describe your proposed solution to our challenge that was presented by the region, and maybe a little bit about why Parsons and Smart Cone are positioned well to take on this task. So. Paul, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, so, right. First thing we do is using the Smart Cone hardware, we're going to put some Smart Cone hardware up on the intersection, on the on the intersection poles, the lighting columns, what have you. They've got some clever sensors on there that are going to be looking and seeing in various ways, LiDAR, cameras, audio. They're going to be looking at what's happening going on around, and also checking speed, the type of vehicle, classifying it, its velocity and direction, weather data. Those sensors then feed into the back end. That's where all the magic happens. That's where smart cone do their thing. Their sensor fusion and data aggregation algorithms go into play. The machine learning analyzes what's going on, makes predictions, and that sends, because we're looking for these collisions that we are anticipating to happen, and that then sends a message back to the infrastructure, to the hardware on site, where we'll actuate some form of alert that will basically tell the pedestrian, the cyclist, and or the driver, hey, do something. We don't want this collision to happen. And that's it. It's that simple. We see it, we do a bit of analysis, and then we make sure we do something to try and mitigate or even prevent it happening. Rob, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so Smart Cone, which is Paul did a great summary of what Smart Cone can do. So what we're finding is we've actually worked with OIT, Ontario Institute of Technology, and we've been able to work with them on a couple patents that actually will take the in-stream video feed and in real time pull out specific data that we're looking for. So we're going to be looking to incorporate that technology into it. We're sensor agnostic, meaning that for us, we don't really care what the sensor is. So it can be, as Paul mentioned, LiDAR, radar. It can be weather. We are looking at how weather impacts. As we all know, when snow, rain comes in, traffic slows down. So how can we quantify and characterize that? The benefit of Smart Cone is that is true edge, meaning that we do all the calculations on the edge, all of it. So it's right there and ready to access for parsons to access if that's the fact that we're going down, or if the region, should we be successful, if they want to access the Smart Cone, they can do it with dashboards and do real analytics on the edge. And there you go. That's a good summary.
No, thank you, guys. And I'll just add, like, from my perspective from the region, reviewing your submission, it felt like kind of a unique partnership in some ways, because we had this, what I'd call a massive or fairly large multidisciplinary global engineering firm teamed up with and Robert, I don't mind you calling your company smaller, but Smart Cone's a relatively much smaller organization with this expertise on the very specific on the sensors and this new technology that I think is pretty unique to the marketplace. So it was a great combination to see, and I think it was a very strong part of your submission was sort of this unique, two different sides of focusing in on this project. So I'm really looking forward to what you guys are going to be able to do, which kind of leads into the next question of looking ahead, and what do you expect that the project benefits may be, and what do you think from your perspective would be the ideal outcome? And Robert, you want to tackle this one first?
Sure. We're always looking to improve our product. The Smart Cone, we recognize that as technology changes, everything improves. So whenever we can deploy anything and whenever we can get data, it's always a good thing. And so when we do that, we're always looking to see how the information can be correlated together. So when we grab the weather data, when we grab the road data, pedestrian data, and correlate them all together, how does that improve the safety of the intersection, and how does that improve Smart Cone, and how does that improve parsons when they do actually engineering intersections? And so that, I think that is really what I'm looking forward to and for the future, and how I think it can improve everything.
Yeah, and one of the great things is we were excited about participating with Durham because we've got staff that are very familiar with the Durham infrastructure. And I mean, it's so important that whoever we work with, that they know that if we're working and we're wanting to, say, for instance, send any signals to their signalized intersection equipment, that we understand safety critical, we understand how to coordinate with that technology. And what we're really keen on, one of the great outcomes is we want to, there's this time to collision where if in the 2 seconds before a collision is the most critical time, and if you can extend that time to collision, or if you can act before 2 seconds things collide, you've got a chance of mitigating or reducing it. And so the whole point of this is we're putting real time, as Rob says, edge computing. It's all there, happening straight away in real time. And we're going to send a signal, and we're going to hopefully inform people to change their behavior in a small way that will make a difference and prevent it. And so ideally we would like to, within say within a year of putting this system down and getting it working, we would hope to see not just a reduction in collisions, and it's difficult to measure because there's not many collisions and you normally need 3 years data, but we're hoping that we can start looking at conflict analysis and near misses, and we can actually say, look, we can reduce the number of near misses, and as a result, statistically, you can start, even early on, you can say, oh, this is looking good. It looks like this is working, because if we're reducing the near misses, that's even better. So, and we've got other things we're thinking about, not just preventing that time to collision in the 2 second area. We're trying to look at the behavior of signals before that, so that we can teach the system to actually slow everyone down, because if everyone's moving slowly, there's much less likely of a crash. So there's so many things we can do, and that's why I'm excited about that the opportunities to improve safety for the vulnerable road users is very high.
So I'm going to go off script a little bit and just follow on from that. So this idea of like the connection between a driver and a vulnerable road user crossing. Do you have ideas of how technology might be able to make that connection happen? So we have the sensors that can maybe detect both sides of that situation, but how do we, when we think of connected vehicles, I think most people think of vehicle to vehicle or vehicle to infrastructure, but how do we get that message to other road users that would benefit?
Rob, you guys are world experts on this. Go ahead.
Great. Predictive analytics is really what it is. So when you fuse multiple different sensors into one source of truth, then you're able to really do a high level prediction on what the outcome will be of the velocity, position of both pedestrians and vehicles. So we're currently doing predictive analytics on the speed of a vehicle as it's passing into the field of view of the camera, and where the potential impending near miss of so a pedestrian is going this slow and then the car's coming this fast, and there's a potential accident, and then providing the a signal to an actuated device to add warning system to whoever is either in the car if they're on a mobile phone and they subscribe to an app, or to a light that is on the that is deployed upon the infrastructure, even an alarm or some other form, because sound travels much faster than light does for people's limbic system, to warn them of something that's going to occur. And so it's predictive analytics that is really the key for that.
That's great. I want to tap into your experience, Paul, on the automated vehicle front a little bit. And what do you think kind of the global landscape looks like for electric, connected, and automated vehicle adoption? And I'm wondering about your thoughts about, well, we've already talked about kind of how active transportation modes might link in, but also this question about shared versus private vehicle ownership. I just wonder if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, a few. It's been really good. I haven't had the chance to listen to everything that's been said, but I did listen to a fair bit, and I'm going to say something. In the road safety world, we don't talk about accidents because accidents imply some ethereal act of God or something that no one could prevent. We talk about crashes and collisions because there are reasons why things go wrong and we can actually do something. When we start talking about autonomous vehicles, I really hope we can get away from talking about autonomous cars and the thought about private cars, because if we end up with lots of autonomous private cars, and don't forget 30% of the population do not have a driving license, so suddenly many of them can now access their own private cars. So we're talking about a proliferation of cars, which typically sit idle 95% of the time, and the most wasteful thing humanity has ever managed to dream up. I would much rather we talk about autonomous vehicles, not autonomous private cars, and we talk about shared fleets, and we talk about novel forms of transportation and modes which combine the best of transit and the private car, and that we move away from private vehicle ownership. And I know I'm a bit out on the edge on that one in my thoughts on that, but I think the business models are taking us there, and I get very excited about that. And if we are going to really address the number one existential threat to humanity in the next 30 years of climate change, we have to get more electric, autonomous shared vehicles on the road. If we just end up with, one autonomous vehicle each or one autonomous car each, we're not going to succeed because there's too much energy resources tied into that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And the other upside of that we're talking about pedestrian and cycling safety, what I honestly believe municipalities are going to be competing to be the first to ban human drivers from their roads, because there are so many quality of life benefits to getting rid of the human driver, and suddenly active transportation, pedestrians and cyclists, they're in priority. They're going to be safer. Now, this is a bit of a dream. We aren't there yet with the technologies, and we need lots of things to fall into place. But that's my big overarching view. The future is very exciting. I just hope we don't have autonomous cars.
Thanks for that, Paul. And Rob, do you want to follow on that one?
Yeah, that's a lofty goal. I love it. So what we right now, and when we look at the sessions that was just previous to us and where we are today, we have connected vehicles where we have Google and Apple connected to the vehicles, and we're looking at data. But in order for us to really start moving forward, we need to make sure we have the right electrical infrastructure. My wife and I, we went on a vacation up in Canada, or northern Ontario, I should say, and we have an electric vehicle. We were really concerned that we weren't going to make it back because we had to find some chargers, and the infrastructure just wasn't there. So we need to make sure that we have the right infrastructure before we get to the lofty ideas that Paul has. But I love it. It's very futuristic. It's like the Jetsons.
Right. I'll just comment. I am 100% looking forward to all the potential safety benefits of connectivity and automated systems. And I'm also responsible for our transportation system from an efficiency point of view. And the idea of all of these currently unlicensed people suddenly having access to a personal vehicle potentially, or even zero occupant vehicles driving around on our transportation system scares me a little bit. So I agree 100% that shared use is something we really have to work on. Although for 20 years, actually probably longer than that, we've been trying to get people to carpool unsuccessfully. So in some ways, I think we have an uphill battle to make that happen. There's definitely some work that has to happen.
Yep.
So the time we have left, I'm just wondering if we can talk a little bit about the idea of this challenge. And I think it's a little bit unique, at least in Ontario, where a municipality has kind of put something like this out there, looking for submissions. We don't usually dip our toe too much into the R&D side of things. We're always looking for stuff that's 100% field proven and has been tried somewhere else, which is a bit of a problem from an innovation point of view. So I think it's a bit unique, and I'm just wondering if either of you have any comments on the process or whether you think this is something we should continue doing and maybe others should also be doing.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. When you create a living lab like what this potentially is, you're fostering innovation and development, and it's great to have that in Canada and in Ontario, because I'm a firm believer that if anything can be successfully deployed in Ontario, it can go anywhere in the world. We're incredibly conservative, as Paul, being traveled, he can attest. We are very risk adverse. And we also want to make sure that we have high quality and we have the manufacturing and ability to do it in Ontario. So a living lab that we have in a great municipality like Durham Region is fantastic. I think that this could be the first of many different living labs, and I believe that municipalities should all coordinate together. My thought is, and create these living labs. And when you have multiple different deployments, creating many different use cases with similar materials, the data you get from that can really solve a lot of the use cases that we're dealing with, not only in Durham, but all over the world. That's my thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to echo what Rob said, it really is great that Durham is making this effort, is taking a bit of a risk. It's obviously a controlled risk, but in doing so, it just creates an environment, an ecosystem for innovation. And in these days of rapid technological advances, you're not just looking at a 1%, a 2% improvement. The possibility to get magnitude levels of improvement just by doing things differently and experimenting. And I like the way the challenge was set up, because you've got a specific goal, but you're giving participants the chance to just try imaginative new ideas. And it's great, and I hope you continue doing it. And I'm also familiar with Area X.O as well here in Ontario. I think we have a great opportunity for made in Ontario solutions. Smart Cone are local. Parsons is a big company internationally, but we've got a very strong team here in Ontario supporting this project. And I really hope that you're successful with this, because whatever solution comes out, if it's successful, it's scalable globally. We can see safety improvements globally if we get this right. And so I really hope the challenge goes well.
Agreed.
That sounds like an excellent way to wrap up our discussion here. And I will mention that we are intending to do more of these challenge projects, and I understand there's actually the second one I think is going to be announced today at the networking sessions that are being held later on. So if you're able to attend, you'll get some news there. And maybe one final comment. I think Rob mentioned it about municipalities working together. So I think that is something that we have to work on a little bit. And there's a tendency for us, and Durham's been guilty of this too. There's a tendency for us to be in competition with each other sometimes, and everyone is trying to get their pilot projects out first and be first, first in line. And I think we need to coordinate those efforts a little bit, so we're at least learning different things on different deployments across the country. So we have some work there today, but it's a good start, and I'm really looking forward to the project, and I think we have a great team. So I think I can turn it back over to Chris. Thank you very much for joining me here today, you guys, and it was a great discussion, and I'm really looking forward to the project in the months ahead. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen, and thanks very much to the panelists for that interesting discussion on the challenge that Durham Region has embarked on. We're really looking forward to see how that ends. So as the MC for today, it's my pleasure to formally end things. I'd like to thank the speakers and for their contribution all through the session today, and also thank you, our audience, again from a number of countries across the planet. It's great that you could attend to be here with us. Just a reminder, this event was presented by CITM in Hamilton and the Durham RTDS. And I'd like to thank our event sponsors, the City of Hamilton, Invest Durham, and the Regional Municipality of Durham. And I'd also like to thank our back-end crew. We have a great group of people there: Kaylee, Melissa, Caitlin, Jennifer, Isabella, Miranda. We could not have done this without you, so thank you very much for that. If you've actually missed any of the sessions, keep an eye out on the website. We will be putting up a recording likely in about a week from now, so you'll be able to catch up on what those are. And again, a reminder, our final reminder for the in-person networking sessions, both CITM in Hamilton and Durham RTDS in Oshawa from 4 to 6 this afternoon. We'll be having an in-person networking session. Directions to the session are there. And again, if you forgot to register, just drop your name in the chat box, and we'll get you registered in that. But other than that, this is the conclusion of our 5th Future of Transportation and Mobility series event. So thank you all very, very much for attending, and I hope to see you in the networking session later on today. Bye for now.